The Milgram Study is one of the most famous studies in the whole of psychology. Focused on obedience and authority, it's filled with massively interesting findings and huge ethical issues. But what were the issues with the study and what exactly did it find? On this week's episode of GetPsyched, we're going to be looking a little bit deeper into the Milgram Study in psychology. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of GetPsyched, and like I said, this week we're going to be looking at the Milgram Study. Milgram was a psychologist at Yale University, and in 1963 he conducted the Milgram Study. Fundamentally, his experiment came about in order to better understand the motives of Nazi generals who went along with the mass slaughter of Jewish people and other ethnic minorities during World War II. So what actually went on in this study? Well, fundamentally, participants were recruited, and when they were recruited, they were paired up in twos. One person was the learner and the other person was the teacher. Now, the first thing to highlight here is that the draw of participants was actually fixed, and every learner in the experiment was a Confederate. It was a fake participant. All the participants who had signed up to the study were teachers. So this fake participant who was a learner was strapped to a chair in one room and strapped with electrodes. The real participant, who was a teacher, was in a conjoining room with a window between the two rooms so that they could see each other, and was sat down in front of a fake electrical board. Fundamentally, what happened here is that the fake participant was given a series of pairs of words and asked to memorize those pairs. The teacher would then say one of the words on those pairs, and the learner had to repeat the word that it was paired with. Now, intentionally, this fake participant, who was a learner, gave the wrong answer the majority of the time. When that happened, and when the learner gave a fake answer, the true participant, who's a teacher, remember, had to electrocute the learner after giving a wrong answer. Now, every wrong answer that they gave, as this increased, the frequency of the electric shocks and the severity of the electric shocks had to increase. Milgram fundamentally wanted to know how far people would go, even if it meant hurting other people, simply to follow instructions. Now, this goes back a little bit to the main purpose of the study after World War II, to fully understand or try to get a little bit of a grasp on why so many people turned toward Nazism and why so many people were willing to hurt ethnic minorities. One thing to note here is that the teacher who had the electric shock buttons in front of them, there was notes above each of the buttons to tell them how severe the voltage that they would be giving to this learner was. So as the teacher received a wrong answer, he would hit the button and give an electric shock that was a fake electric shock. If he received a fake answer again, he would hit the next button that was an even more severe electric shock, and this increased as it went on. It even got to the point eventually where the learner pretended to have been knocked out from the electric shock. The teacher was still informed to deliver electric shocks, and if they heard nothing in response from a question asked, they were to take that as a wrong answer and continue to give electric shocks. So what were the results of this experiment? Well, incredibly, 65% of the participants, who were the teachers, gave the full 450 volt electric shock. And all of the participants that were included in the study gave a minimum of 300 volts. Now, this just shows you the extent to which people will go, even if it means hurting someone else, simply to follow orders. There's massive ethical issues involved in this, of course. Deception would be the first one. The teacher, who was a real participant, had no idea that they were being deceived in this way. There was also an issue over psychological trauma, that they were delivering such impactful electric shocks and such hurtful electric shocks to another person. Further on from this, there were some ethical issues in that the participant had no right to withdraw. So even if they said, I want to leave the study, which of course now in psychological experiments, everybody has the right to and can leave a study at any point, Milgram himself refused to let the person leave the experiment. One key thing to note here as well is that Milgram's study has been tried and tested time and time again, even up to very recently, and similar findings have been consistently found. So what can we take from Milgram's study and his findings? This study gives us a window into conformity. It gives us a little bit of an understanding about our desire to follow authority and to be obedient, even in the face of causing harm to other people. And fundamentally, these orders are often followed through if the person giving them has a real sense of authority. So from Milgram's study, we can understand the power of authority. Now, you might be able to take this two ways. If you're in a role that requires you to show authority, this study can give you a little bit of an insight into the value of that authority and how it can help you attribute your roles and the things that you want to get through to a larger group, for example. On the other hand, if you're in a position where an authority figure is telling you to do something that you don't agree with, you can gain a little bit of an understanding just to how much their authority is an impact in you going through with your actions, even if you don't understand them or even if you don't agree with them. So guys, that's the Milgram study. Massive ethical issues, massive psychological findings, and findings that are still attributable to today's day and age. Guys, thanks so much for watching this week's episode of GetPsyched. Like I said, this week we've been looking at the Milgram study in psychology, one of the most famous studies in psychology. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure to hit the like button, and if you've been enjoying GetPsyched as a YouTube channel, you can subscribe, and you can hit the little bell next to the subscribe button and get weekly reminders of when I upload new videos every Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and hopefully catch you next week.